we're going to walk over to a couple of our vivariums and I'll show you how the little ones work, and I'll show you one of the vivariums where actually one of the larger ferns works just a little bit better. Let's go take a look. Ferns. I just love ferns, and we've got a great assortment of the here at Tye-Dyed Iguana. My name is Kim. I'm from the Tye-Dyed plant team, and we're going to show an assortment of the ferns that we have in the store, and they come in a great number of species, as I've said. Everything from what's a little bit more familiar as Boston ferns, and we have staghorns, and we have bird nests, and the common thread that all of them have is that they're shade lovers. They like shade, they like moisture, and they like to have wet leaves. Now when I say shade, they don't have to be in complete shade. A little bit of mottled light works well for them, where they're going to be putting them inside as an indoor plant, in a vivarium, in a terrarium, or if you're going to put them outside, it's nice to have them maybe under a larger tree or a part of your home where there's going to be a little bit more shade. Put them in direct sunlight and they're just not going to do as well as what you might hope. One of the neat things about the ferns, and I don't have an example to show you because these are young adolescent ferns, but as they get into the reproductive system, when you look to the back of their leaves, you'll see in a relatively regular pattern little spots, and you might think that that's some kind of bug or some kind of disease on there. It's the spores that actually are formed on the backside of the leaf, and that's how the ferns will reproduce. The spores will form, they'll get a little dusty, they'll drop into the soil, and then as the new growth starts to come out, and again, this is an adolescent, so I don't have that to show you, but you'll see a little stem with a round that looks like a shepherd's hook. And as that little stem comes out, that shepherd's hook will uncurl itself, and eventually the leaves, the fronds, will start coming out on the fern. It's not only a beautiful sight to see, but those little fronds, as they're coming up, they just fill in any of the bare spots that you have inside the bottom part of your fern. These have not been watered yet today, but generally speaking, we'll water these probably 2 or 3 times a week, depending upon the amount of light, and a light misting is good for them every single day. Now, if this is a little bit too large for you, I'm going to back up, and we do have a pretty good supply of smaller ferns. Same type species, same type reproductive cycle. You'll look underneath and you might see the spores, and then as the new growth comes up, you'll see that little curly shepherd's hook beginning to unravel. And a great number of different species that we have here. Now, depending upon where you're looking to put them, sometimes a larger fern, like we have over here to my left, is not going to work. Sometimes the smaller one is not going to work, but sometimes there's a spot in there that just works right for the proper size. We're going to walk over to a couple of our vivariums and I'll show you how the little ones work, and I'll show you one of the vivariums where actually one of the larger ferns works just a little bit better. Let's go take a look. So here we have one of our smaller vivariums. It's a deluxe vivarium. You can see it looks kind of tropical. It's got the nice cork background in the back. It's got a larger piece of cork in the center. It's got some air plants growing off of it. And then right here we have put ourselves a tiny fern, one of the smaller ones. Certainly a larger fern would not work good in a tank this size. But with all of the darkness in the back, you can see you have that tropical flair where it's nice and shady, it's nice and dark, and that's where a small fern like this will really thrive. If you have a larger fern, like I showed you, we would have to put something like that, and let's look down here into a larger tank. And you can see here in the back, this is all one large fern that's really starting to grow quite well. It's nice and shady. We're keeping it moist. This has been already misted and watered this morning, and it nestles great into this little spare spot back here in between the cork and the edge of the vivarium. So it really does, it's a perfect environment here, and some of the other plants will start to grow around it. Now, not only can you do this here in the vivarium, but if you, like I said, have to go into a backyard, side yard, front yard, anywhere where you're going to have a reasonable amount of shade, some mottled light, your ferns will absolutely thrive. If you do put them outside, you need to remember, come the end of September, beginning of October, these are tropicals, and if they're outside for any period of time, they are not going to survive the winter here in our zone 6A. They do need to come inside, and if you do bring plants inside and outside, each time you change that environment, you'll notice they take a little bit hit back. They'll wilt a little bit, the leaves might yellow a little bit, That's natural. Just be patient with them, give them a little time, and the ferns will just fill in any of the areas that you have that are shady. Will fill that in well. Big ones, small ones, a combination of all of the above. These are our ferns. I just love them. Plenty available here at the Tye-Dyed Iguana.